everyone, it's Kate from the Forward Line. I am back this week to talk all things sewing bee. You may have noticed I am in a different location this week. I'm at my friend's house, so apologies about the background. I've set up a kind of very precarious little thing here. So I've got all the patterns to talk to you about and I am going to get started. So the theme of the sewing bee this week was reuse, recycle, and the first challenge I thought was really interesting one. So they wanted them to make a pair of zero waste trousers. So anyone who hasn't come across this, and obviously for those of you who watched it last night, you will see that the concept is you're almost not given a pattern, you're given almost kind of the measurements that you then draw straight onto the fabric, and you're cutting kind of squares to waste as little fabric as possible. So if this for you seems like an interesting concept, we've actually got a designer who specialises in this, and we thought one of her kind of trouser pattern was very similar to the one featured in the show last night. So these are the ZW block pants from Vegeta Hemerson. All her patterns are based around zero waste, and actually she's got a book coming out later this year, so if you are interested in it, it's really worth having a look at. And anyone who came to the Sewing Weekender will have seen she did a video as well. So these pants are gorgeous. They're kind of really wide, loose, exactly like the ones in the show last night. They've got seams, as you can see, across the leg, and then there's elasticated around kind of waistband. I know that the show they had drawstring, but again, kind of really similar feel. So yeah, so it's a similar concept with her patterns, that you're given almost the measurements to draw directly onto the fabric rather than actual kind of physical pattern, and then you waste very little fabric. So that was the first challenge, which I thought was kind of mid-level, not too tricky. The second challenge in the recycling challenge was upcycling tote bags, which I thought was quite tricky, and they did make quite bizarre outfits. You could see, I felt like they kind of struggled this week in what they made. Did anyone else think that? So that was the second challenge. And then the last challenge, which, what did everyone think about this? I'm quite interested in it as a concept. I think it was really hard, but they were using crochet blankets that they then made into garments, and they got to pick the crochet blankets that they wanted and then kind of manipulate them during the show. I thought it was a really tricky challenge because it was kind of more about, it felt more about knowing about knitting almost than sewing. Did anyone else feel like that? The way they had to pick them apart, and yeah, it was really, really tricky. So patterns definitely struggled this week. We definitely struggled this week. So I'm going to talk you through what we've got and then pair the patterns. There are a couple that we just didn't get. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Last week, someone commented, which was a really great point, that I didn't mention the colour or the type of the outfit. So I will make sure that I do that this time, so you kind of know, if you watch the show, which item I'm talking about. So we're going to start with Vicky. So Vicky made this sort of multicoloured dress with raglan cream sleeves, and the front of the dress was in one fabric, and then in one blanket, and the sleeves were in a different one. So the sleeves were in a lighter weight crochet, and the dress was in this kind of big, bright, kind of your classic sort of crochet blanket. So the pattern that we thought would work really well as a base would be Our Lady of Leisure spritz dress. So it's got that feature with the raglan sleeves. I think we were thinking that she probably added those on herself. It's got this little drawstring feature at the front, and then it's quite loose fitting. Yeah, we thought this one would work really well for that. So second up, we had Tony W. He made a sort of, it was a really beautiful blanket. It was navy blue with white chevrons, and he made this sort of quite a fitted, sort of almost like a pencil dress with a little sort of cardigan to go with it. I actually thought it looked really chic, and he sort of hand finished off the neckline and the armholes, which I thought was really amazing, kind of nice detail and a really good way to actually finish it all off. Pattern wise, we thought that the Burda 6608 would work quite well. It's got that fitted dress that he had. It does have little sleeves, but you could obviously take those off. And the cardigan on this is longer, but you can obviously crop it off to make it similar to his. So we thought those two, kind of a classic pairing, and obviously you get both patterns in one. So we thought that one would work quite well for him. Apologies, my laptop is here just so I can keep track of what I'm talking about. So Tony R, he made a sort of like a little, it was like a top, a gathered top, a kind of little boob tube top with a pair of wide leg trousers. The boob tube was in a pale blue, which I thought was really chic. It's not boob tube, you know what I mean when I show you the pattern. And then the wide leg trousers were in quite a vibrant kind of crochet. So got a really good pattern. This the French Poetry Polaris top, this would work perfectly for it. So it's very simple in terms of its construction. It basically has a channel sewn through it at the top where you feed through elastic or drawstring depending on what you want. And it's got little sleeves, and it's a really lovely pattern actually. So if you're looking for a nice summer top, this is a really good option. So he'd obviously made his kind of quite cropped. You could obviously cut it off and do that. Next up, the trousers. We thought that the cashmerette counter trousers work perfectly with this. And these are really fab if you haven't come across them. So if we have a look at them, they're really simple in terms of the construction. They're a really nice kind of simple starter trouser. Wide legged. The front, for me, crucially, this is the kind of bit that elevates it as a pattern. The front is flat and then it's got elastic at the back. So you don't have all the fit issues of making a proper tailored pair of trousers, but the front part, which I think is much more flattering to have that flat and a bit of elastication and give at the back. You can also make them into shorts as well for the hot weather that we're having. So I thought those would work really well for him. Then we've got Mia, who made a super cute little cropped jacket and skirt. So it was kind of like her crochet was kind of cream and pastel-y colours. So it was a little cropped jacket, zipped up the front, except she'd put like toggles, little collar, and then, yeah, literally a little mini skirt. So this one we were actually pretty sure we were right on the pattern. I think it's pinch patterns. And the jacket is called the Ollie jacket, and the skirt pattern that she used is called the A-line mini skirt. So those two, I think, work really well together, and I thought it was really beautiful what she did. And she obviously won Garment of the Week, which I thought was the right person to win. I thought how she'd used how she'd done all the finishings, it was really, really clever. So absolutely loved that one. Then we had Lauren, who made this super chic, actually, I really loved it. It's a little strap top, really simple strap top, and then a pair of clots with kind of pleats at the front. It was cream, and then it had these kind of brown chevrons around the kind of lower part of the leg, which I thought was really nice, and the top was in a kind of plain creamy colour as well. In terms of patterns for this, we thought that the True Buyers Zoe tank would work really nicely for the top. It's got all the details that her one had, and it's in a really nice simple jersey pattern. For the trousers, we think she used the Helen's Closet Winslow culottes as her base, because it had all the pleating at the front, which is similar to hers, and you just don't see that sort of box pleat on many trouser patterns, so we think it could have been that one. Again, any thoughts, let us know. So next up, we had Matthew, who used one of his granny patterns, and actually they showed the cover of this one. So it's a Woman's Realm L41 pattern, and it's a beautiful vintage 1950s style dress with a really fitted top, kind of fit and flare, absolutely beautiful. He obviously, this week really struggled. I think it was the dress was too structured for the fabric. The fabric needed to have more structure to make the dress feel like that. So he really had a pretty tough week. Next up, Lizzie. So she made a sort of red little cropped jacket with a hood, and then quite a simple sort of multicoloured dress. We didn't find anything for this. I'm pretty sure that she'd self-drafted. If anyone's got any ideas for that sort of cropped red cardigan with the hood, we'd love to hear. Fauve, she did this beautiful, it felt quite 1960s to me, long-sleeved A-line shorts kind of dress with buttons up the front. It had a little collar, and I thought that the blanket that she used was amazing because it was bright red with big blue sort of chevrons, blue and white, and it felt really kind of fun. So pattern-wise, we thought that the Simple Sew Nancy tunic was quite close actually to this. It has a little collar and the shaping of it, and it, yeah, felt really close. Asma, we're not sure. Again, I think that she might have drafted this herself. She sort of said Regency style in the programme. I don't know, we looked for ages, but we couldn't find anything similar. So if you've got any thoughts on Asma's one, I'd love to know. So that is it from me this week. It was really tricky. Did anyone else? I thought what they had to do was really tricky. But I hope you have found some nice patterns, and we will be back next week with the next instalment from Sobi. Have a lovely, lovely week. Bye.